Rapid Response 47. CNBC reports the national median rent just fell for the fourth straight month. More progress, more to be done. And by the way, I cite and I add Rapid Response 47 all the time. They are it's an extremely active channel. It's actually an official government account with the White House. So let me show you real quick. So this is obviously the White House, and it has the White House badge. So if you've been watching my show for any amount of time, and if you notice that I cite Rapid Response 47 pretty often, that would be the reason, because not only is it a government account, but it's also it's exactly what it says it is. It rapidly responds to anything that's happening, out in the government or out in the mainstream media. If there's any accusations or any false stories or anything, Rapid Response, they'll often debunk it, or they'll report on it accordingly. So anyway, let's get back to this. So apartment rents down for the fourth month in a row. That is excellent news. So the national median rent for apartments fell just 1%, but hey, it's better than going up 1% in November from October, and now stands at $1,367 according to Apartment List. See, I read over the summer that it was like, on average, it was like $2,000 nationwide. So I don't know, man. If it's 1367, that's still kind of crazy, though. I mean, if you're including studios, one-bedroom apartments, 2 and 3 bedrooms. So the national multifamily vacancy rate was at 7.2% in November, which is a record high. If it's a record high, dude, then these rents should be plunging. So the historic surge in multifamily construction over the past few years is now pulling back, but a good supply of new units is still coming online at a time of much weaker demand. Good, man. Good, good, good. An oversupply and a very small amount of demand is nothing but good news for anyone out there who is renting, which I can only assume that the vast majority of Gen Z, they're probably renters because housing's way too damn expensive. And I'm sure also the majority of millennials, they're probably renting too. So this is all good news. So a version of this article first appeared in CNBC Property Play newsletter. Okay, so anyway, a slew of new supply is still making its way through the multifamily housing market. That, coupled with weakening demand, especially from the youngest workers, is pushing vacancies up and rents down. The national median rent for apartments fell 1% November from October, which we already got that. It was the fourth consecutive month-over-month decline. Apartment rents are down 1.1% from November of 2024 and have fallen 5.2% from their 2022 peak. So, and that's really good news. Let's hope it keeps going. Quote, earlier this year, it appeared that annual growth was on track to flip positive for the first time since mid-2023. However, that rebound stalled out in reverse course during a particularly slow summer, according to Apartment List researchers. And post-COVID, isn't this the first time in history where it's cheaper to rent than to get a mortgage? I know I heard or read that somewhere. So after hitting a record high for this index, which dates back to 2017 in October, the national multifamily vacancy rate remained at 7.2% in November. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the average current mortgage, isn't it? I think it's like $2,400 or $2,600. Actually, here, let me check real quick. All right, la 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 la. Here we go with Grok. The median monthly mortgage payment nationwide is $2,067 as of September 2025, a significantly higher amount than it is to rent, if the CNBC number is accurate. According to the Mortgage Bankers Association, this covers principal and interest for a typical 30-year fixed rate loan, excluding taxes and insurance. So that excludes your property taxes. And it also doesn't factor in your homeowner's insurance, which is also at a record high nationwide. So if you factor those two in, it probably is what I suspected at $2,400, maybe $2,600 a month. Absolutely ridiculous. For new buyers in 2024, it averaged $2,225 per U.S. Census data. So yeah, it's basically double the amount that it would be to rent a place. So it's no wonder that people are opting to rent, which really surprises me that the demand of rent, despite all of the mass mass deportations happening right now, that rents aren't still tracking upward, because year after year the Gen Z, and I think now Gen Alpha isn't Gen Alpha now graduating out of high school and they're entering adulthood. They're not going to be buying a house as soon as they get out into the workforce. They're going to be renting. So combined with that, it just really surprises me that people are like, anybody's buying a house right now. I mean, I just think it's insane. But all right, so anyway, we'll get back to this. So the historic surge in multifamily construction over the past few years is now pulling back, but a good supply of new units is still coming online. We already got that too. So the fall historically sees the biggest slowdown in multifamily rents, but this year it's even more pronounced. CoStar reported the biggest monthly drops in median rent it had seen in 15 years of tracking. The primary reason is that more young people are struggling to form new households. Well, they're struggling to buy houses too. Okay, so quote that 18 to 34-year-old group, I think it's up to 32.5% of those who are now living with family, and that's the highest it's been in a while. That's also another fair point that a lot of people are either moving back in with their family or they're just opting to just stay at home with their family and just stack money, just save, save, save. So anyway, let's see, that was said by Grant Montgomery, CoStar's national director of multifamily analytics. Quote, I think it reflects high rental costs that have risen over the years. Definitely true, as well as tougher job market for young folks just coming out of college. So I'm going to also take a quick look and see what was the average rent in 2019. I bet it was probably roughly half of what it is right now. Okay. And so average rent cost today nationwide, average rent nationwide is 1367, which we got from CNBC, but it doesn't cite CNBC. It says apartment list national rent report, November 2025 median. So just show me a 10-year list. So year after year, 2016, $1,216. See, this is a lot higher than I thought it was. 2017, 1276. Well, you know what? In Florida, it wasn't anywhere near this. In Florida, like back in 2016 was probably like $800, maybe $700 on average. So nationwide, I guess if you include all the major cities and everything, maybe it probably is accurate. So 1335, 2018, and it goes on and on. Drops to 1188 in 2020. Then it goes up 1265, 13, 14, 15. But then 2025, it says 1650. That's not 13. What was it? 1367? Yeah, 1367. That's not accurate. So I said you have 2025 at 1650 a month. You said earlier it was 1367. So it corrects itself by saying the $1,650 was a projected annual average for 2025 based on early year trends on iPropertyManagement.com, but rents declined sharply throughout the year with the November 2025 national median at 1367, citing CNBC.com. So I guess we'll go with the 1367. I mean, Grok is correcting itself and saying that it is actually 1367, and I suppose the 1650 it did say it's a projected annual average for the year, but that was an earlier estimate, and they corrected it with 1367. So if it dropped that sharply, that's like 10, maybe 11%. That's a pretty significant drop within the span of a single year. So let's hope they keep going down, man. I really hope they do. Just for the sake, especially of younger Americans who are just getting out into the workforce, they could really use a break because everything is so damn expensive today. Okay, so where were we? The 18 to 34 group, 32. Okay, yeah, so we already got that. Let's see. That is where a lot of demand traditionally comes from. The core renter demand from that sort of younger base, he said. So the weakness is showing up in stocks of the major public apartment REITs. Names like Avalon Bay, Equity Residential, and Camden Property Trust are all down year to date. Some markets are seeing rents drop faster than others due to local economic factors. Las Vegas, for example, is experiencing slower tourism, which in turn hits jobs there. Well, and I actually just recently saw a video on the Sphere in Las Vegas and how the attendance is way down. Apparently, they lost like $500 million worth of revenue this year against their operating costs and the overall cost to build it, which was like $2.5 billion. It only seats like 17,000 people, and they're losing tons of money on that. And the Strip overall is losing a lot, but yet not only the Trump administration and the federal government as a whole, but you got a lot of pundits out there saying that the economy is doing well. Of course, the Democrats are saying the opposite, but in some aspects, it's doing really well. Wall Street's doing amazing. The whole story of the rich getting richer, poor getting poorer, but the middle class is still getting hammered, man. Debt is at an all-time high across the board for all consumer debt. Mortgages are insane. Car loans are insane. And I think that's a major reason why Las Vegas is taking a hit because it's just too damn expensive. Plus, Las Vegas, like what, 10, 15 years ago, you can go there and get a room on the Strip for probably half of what you can get for it now. It's just gotten too expensive, so people are just opting not to go anymore. Anyway, Boston has seen a decline in federal funding for biotech as well as a drop in foreign students for its colleges and universities. Both are impacting its rental sector hard. In Austin, Texas, they're seeing the biggest hit to rents thanks to still more construction of multifamily units. While rents are softening nationally and landlords are boosting concessions, renters are increasingly searching in more affordable markets. Now, I remember back in the day, if an apartment complex has a bunch of units available, they'll offer like 2 months for free if you sign a year's lease. You remember when they had all those advertisements everywhere? I haven't seen anything like that in years. So maybe we'll start to see that again. Anyway, Cincinnati was the market most searched for, followed by Atlanta and Kansas City, Missouri, according to a Yardi report that looked at where apartment hunters were active last summer, the traditionally busiest time for new leasing. St. Louis saw the biggest quarterly jump in tenant interest, and Washington, D.C. dropped from the top spot to number 4. So I've already jumped over to Grok enough, but I'd be curious to know, when is the lowest month of the year when it comes to new leasing? Because they say that the summertime is the most active time for people to sign a new lease, which that tells me, if you're on month to month for any period of time, like, I know if you're a renter, if you've been a renter for a long time and you sign annual lease after lease, your lease is going to be up, at the same time of year for years and years, unless you find yourself in a month to month situation where you can move at the end of any month that you choose to move. So that could offset or at least change your lease, the time of year at which your lease expires. And I'd be curious to know which month of the year would be the slowest. Maybe it is. I would assume it might be January. Probably especially January, because just coming out of the Christmas season, it's cold as hell. Nobody wants to move in the middle of winter, but that would be a good time to look for deals. Maybe get a month free, or maybe get a lower rate, because there's just so much supply and not enough demand. Possibly that time of year. I don't know. Just a thought. So the Midwest in particular drew more attention than ever, signaling that many of its hidden gem markets are no longer a secret, according to the report, which found 11 of the top 30 cities for renter demand were in the Midwest. Plus, remote work really swung upward during COVID. I know it's back on the decline, but that energized a lot of younger Americans to start looking into smaller towns, especially looking to purchase a house in a smaller town where they're a lot cheaper. And I think that it was like the first time in 50 years, and I believe it was last year, it was the first time in 50 years where there was an increase in young Americans moving into small town America, because before then it had been year over year declining for like 5 decades. So anyway, the Midwest. Okay, so Yardi also revisited its expectations for 2026 supply, saying that while new supply will decline through 2027, a larger than expected under construction pipeline caused it to increase its previous quarterly estimates for 2025 and 2026 by 6.8% and 2.5% respectively. I don't think this oversupply is going to last very long. I think it's going to be short-lived. A lot of the reason for mass deportations probably leading the way with apartment availability. But they've been saying time and time again since the 2008 crash, house building has been in rapid decline, or it has been subpar when it comes to building out the number of houses annually that's needed to keep up with the demand. So when you've got high mortgage rates and then you've got houses at $400,000 on average across the country, I just think that the more young Americans that get out into the workforce, they're just going to have to opt for renting, because renting is, I mean, it's like damn near $1,000 cheaper just to rent as opposed to buying a house. So I think that they really shouldn't slow down the building out of rentals, because I just believe that if you build them, they will come. It might not be immediately, but yeah, if they slow that down, that could really backfire in the rental market, or not so much for those who are renting out the units, but those who are the renters. Anyway, construction continues to slow into next year. The overall market should stabilize somewhat, according to the apartment list report. Quote, that said, the supply boom still has a bit of runway remaining, and the demand outlook has begun to appear weaker amid a shaky labor market. Yeah, the labor market's a bit shaky, especially if you watch platforms like TikTok, probably YouTube Shorts, or even just YouTube videos. A lot of people do compilation videos right here on YouTube, where they compile a bunch of social media posts from people saying that the job market's horrible. I've been looking for a job for months and months. I've applied to 1,000 places. There's people that are using AI now to submit job applications, which is a really bad idea, because most of these companies these days, they're using AI to filter out the AI applications. So it's not really going to get you anywhere these days. AI versus AI, man.
If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Check out The Swamp Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, with segments dropping on the daily. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.